Oh! Didn't see you guys there, sorry. I was polishing all my rich boy toys. This video is about buying vintage audio gear all while being a cheap It's been quite a while since I did one of these big audio sounds with cheap gear type of videos, and today's video was really inspired by a snarky comment I got when I woke up this morning on one of my YouTube videos, and it just put me in a tizzy. Now usually, I'm really good at ignoring mean comments, and I often like them, because a lot of times you guys are just sucking my ass, telling me how great I am and how sexy my new mustache is. But this specific comment really ticked me off for a couple reasons, and it's a comment that I gotten quite a bit. And it's usually some variation of, "Oh, you're just a rich boy playing with all your mommies and daddy's money." Huh. Now, I'm not quite sure why this comment bothers me so much. I think part of it is insecurities, maybe it's the way I grew up. I think a lot of it is my pride, and I think it kind of insults me when someone diminishes where I've gotten. And, you know, I put in a lot of hard work to get where I want to be. And it's also insulting to my parents in a way. So, I don't know. But that's not really what today's video is about. You're not my therapist. Really, what we're going to talk about is accruing vintage audio gear on a budget without, you know, completely breaking your wallet. First off, kids, we need to get something extremely clear here. If you think buying expensive audio gear is going to make your music sound better or like a different era, you're already off to a rough start. I try to explain this in all of my videos. Your gear is such on a low priority when it comes to recording music, especially tape machines and stuff like that. I'm telling you, you shouldn't be worrying about that if you are a beginner. You really should be cutting your teeth with the limitations naturally present to you when you don't have a lot of gear. You're going to learn better that way, right? I guarantee you, you could make a vintage sound recording with an SM57, GarageBand, and some stupid ass plugin. It's just not nearly going to be as fun as using audio gear, and that's why I recommend using, you know, analog gear, right? So please understand that first. Tip number 1, stop paying eBay prices. I cannot stress this enough. That is a term I use a lot in my videos that I have recently trademarked. eBay prices, right? I think people watch, you know, audio videos, whether that be mine or someone else's. They see a piece of gear, they go, "I want that piece of gear. That looks fun." They go to eBay and they're like, "Oh my God, this piece of gear is $400? It's not worth that much. eBay prices are so super inflated, okay? That should not be your benchmark at all for your gear. If you were going by eBay prices, you're probably looking at this gear here and thinking, wow, this is $30,000 worth of gear, and it is a fraction of that, okay? So that's the first thing. No eBay prices. Tip number 2, learn to repair audio gear. If you don't know what this is, boy, you are in for a rough time. You better learn to start soldering immediately. It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and it's going to open up a lot more doors of buying gear for you when you know how that you could reliably fix, you know, simple things at least. Contact cleaner, another thing. I literally drink this before I go to bed, okay? Contact cleaner is going to fix, no joke, 95% of the problems you're going to have with audio gear. And a lot of times when you're buying gear, sometimes it just needs contact cleaner and the seller don't even know it, right? So first things first, you got to learn how to repair it. Piggybacking on that, you need to start taking some gambles because you are going to see stuff listed online that is untested. Now, you have to do a little due diligence here. If you're on eBay and you're looking at someone's item and it says untested, and you go to their other seller's items and they're listing a bunch of other audio gear and that other audio gear is working, that means that person is purposely not telling you, hey, this piece of gear does not work, right? But a lot of times you'll see someone's grandma selling one of their grandson's microphones or something, and they don't have a way to test it, and they're just putting it as untested, and you can get it for a fraction of the price. There's also some items that you don't have to worry whether or not it's going to be working. For example, this microphone right here, EV635A, the microphone I talk about all the time, because it's one of my favorite microphones. I bought this bad boy for $25 on eBay as untested. Now, I knew it's a dynamic microphone. How much could go wrong with a dynamic microphone, especially as one as simple as an EV635A? My gamble turned out great because this puppy has been working like a charm ever since, right? Now, You could see tested ones on eBay, these EV635s for like $100, more than that. These people are nuts. This is worth maybe 25, 30, 40 bucks at most, right? So you really have to look through the listings here and see where you could take gambles. See, you know, sometimes, like I'm saying before, sometimes stuff doesn't work just because it needs a spray of contact cleaner in the switches and potentiometers. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just got to go for it and say, maybe I could fix it with some contact cleaner. And most of the time, that's all you need to do. Tip number 2A, buy some gear that is physically beat up. Now, I personally don't abide by this rule because I love the way stuff looks. That's part of the reason why I like using analog gear. I like the design, blah, 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 blah. However, you know, this stuff doesn't need to look good to function, right? You could get even instruments that have blemishes and gouges on guitars, but they still work functionally just as fine as if they were in mint condition. Always keep that in mind because you could be buying things that are a fraction of the price of a mint condition item. Another thing is you really need to start learning how to restore items. Now, I'm talking very minimally. All you really need most of the time is a little bit of vinegar soaked into some paper towel, and you just gotta rub the unit, and sometimes you make things that look completely disgusting and not worth any money into, you know, beautiful pieces of gear just because the person who had them just didn't take care of them, and because of that, the value is diminished just because they look terrible. So, learn how to repair, learn how to clean. All right, let's move on to tip 3. Tip number 3, buy lesser known gear. Try to avoid those hidden gems that you hear people talk about in YouTube videos or one of the music forums. A lot of those gears just get this, you know, reputation just because someone said it was amazing on some, you know, Gear Sluts forum from 10 years ago, and everyone thinks it's like a magic thing. Here's a good example. Here's this Bogan amplifier that I use as like I'll call it a color box, you know. I use it as like a microphone preamplifier. I actually got this unit for free. My old job was throwing it away. They used to just use it for PA purposes in the building. And, you know, you could find stuff like this everywhere for super cheap. Sometimes people are throwing stuff like this away, and it's gonna function just as fine as, you know, something similar to like, you know, something like this M67 has that hidden gem quality of it that, you know, everyone's like, oh my god, the transformers in those M67s, they're amazing. Did you know they use those in Woodstock? That's all they can say, right? Listen, a lot of that is just fucking baloney, all right? Don't get me wrong, I love my N67, but it's not worth the $200 or however much they're listed on eBay. I bought both of these for about $20 each. I think this one, $25, and then $20 one on top, right? I'm not paying a lot of money for these because they're really not worth anything more than that, right? Don't buy into that hidden gem. Oh, I have a perfect example. The Fosec MN50 compressor, right? This is like, oh my god, this is like the perfect example of like that hidden gem quality that people talk about. This thing is often listed on eBay for $200. Oh my god, if you're paying more than $30 for this thing, you're wasting your time. Which that's how much I paid for it. I think I paid $28 for it. That is all it is worth. It is not worth this hidden gem quality that everyone's like, it's the magic drum crusher. I mean, get a load of it. These people are freaking ridiculous. All right, so that's basically what I'm saying, right? This hidden gem quality, don't worry about it. A lot of this gear functions just the same, especially like something like a VCA compressor. Hold on. Great example of low-end gear, pretty much all acting very similar. I have 4 VCA compressors here. You know, 2 of them are Ashley compressors. One's a DBX, one's 60X, and one's an Orban. You know, they're all VCA compressors, you know, low prosumer grade. They all sound so similar. It's really just the functionality of the knobs and the ease of use. Like, for example, I love the DBX 160X, just for its ease of use. You know, there's no attack time, there's no release time to set. It's just really it's the compression ratio and how much compression I'm getting with the gain knob. That's why I love it. It's not really the sound that's much different than these Ashley's compressors, right? Like the price tag of this, which you could probably find them, I don't know, $250 on eBay. You know, you could find these Ashley compressors for $100. For the same price, the Ashley compressor is going to be a lot more versatile because you could change the settings. It just doesn't have that, you know, hidden gem quality. I know I keep saying that, but like it's really true with what I'm trying to say here. All right, tip number 4. You need to get the hell off eBay and start buying locally. Craigslist, yard sales, estate sales, flea markets, networking at shows. There's so many opportunities here for you to acquire gear that is from people in the real world and not through online. You're going to be saving, most of the time, you know, the prices are like a third of the price they would be online. And it's not even necessarily the monetary aspect. It's the human connection you're going to get from making these deals with people. You know, through Craigslist, I've made a lot of friendships. There's a couple in particular that I'm still friends with, and I still go to their shows, etc. They're probably watching this video right now. What is up, Adam? You know, just examples like that. You know, there's a lot to learn there. You will gain friendships. You will learn things. You will become a repeat customer. They're going to be more willing to give you better deals. A lot of times when, especially if you're a young kid, if someone older sees someone who's younger interested in something that they were interested at a young age, they're more willing to give you better deals and sometimes throw in stuff for free, whatever the case may be, right? It's all about just being a genuine person with people, right? You're not going to get that through eBay or Facebook Marketplace or whatever the case may be. I really recommend meeting people in person for that reason. And tip number 4A, if you're buying stuff in person, you really got to learn to haggle. This goes in life for anything, not just audio gear. You never pay what initially someone is asking for, right? You always have to haggle a little bit. Now, there are some people, don't get me wrong, that refuse to budge. And there are those cases where you just have to give in. But, you know, be reasonable with people. Never insult people with their offers. Always give what you think is, you know, appropriate. And a lot of the times people will come down because if you give them a reasonable offer and you don't lowball them, they are willing to make, you know, some compromise with you. So always keep that in mind. Tip number 5, be patient and save up. All this vintage gear, it was mass produced. It is not rare by any means, okay? If you don't buy it now, I guarantee you will see another one down the road. You will be able to buy it again. Maybe you'll see it for a better price. Maybe you'll have a little more cash then, right? Whatever the case may be, don't feel so inclined to just keep buying gear. And trust me, I get it. Buying gear is so much fun. It's like when... I can't even say it. It's not even appropriate, but it's just a great feeling when you just buy gear. And you never want to be one of those people that are new to a hobby and just get all the expensive gear and you don't know how to use any of it. Never a good look, right? Never a good look. That's why I said in the beginning of the video, you have to learn to cut your teeth when you're a beginner and learn to work within your limitations. You're going to learn better that way. You're going to learn better, you know, for example, how to use a compressor if you only have one compressor versus 5 really expensive compressors, right? Don't be afraid to take your time and get there. Let's expand a little more about saving up for gear. And I'm going to tell a little story about this 16 track, which really exemplifies what I'm trying to say here. Now, this 16 track is by far the most expensive thing in the studio. I bought this in tandem with the mixer here from a guy that I also bought the Space Echo from up there, coincidentally. And nice guy. He was not willing to give this away for a dirt cheap price. Now, I didn't pay eBay prices, but I paid a premium for it, and more than I've ever spent for something, you know, recording-wise. And at the time, when he first showed me it, you know, I didn't have enough money to buy it. And I really wanted to buy it, and I was like, I'm sorry, man, like, will you hold it for me? I can't buy it. And it was tucked away in his back room. He has this music store, and it was tucked away from the customers. He's like, it'll be here. When you have enough money to buy it, you will buy it. And it took me a year and a half to save up my money to buy the tape machine and the mixer. And this was right when COVID hit. And just luckily enough, I still had my job, luckily. I wasn't spending money because everyone was locked down. And I was able to save up my money for the tape machine. And don't get me wrong, it ate at me every single night. I'm not even joking. If you think I'm joking every single night, I'm serious. Every single night before I went to bed, I was thinking about this damn tape machine. I was like, man, I want this tape machine so bad. I gotta get it, right? But forcing myself to wait that time, I learned a couple things. One, it made sure that I really wanted it, right? It's really easy to make impulse buys and give into your gut. But when you wait, and you make sure it's not just a want, that it's a need. Well, I mean, I guess I don't need it, but, you know, it's something that you are actually going to appreciate and value once you get it. It's going to make it that wait much more worthwhile and make sure you're making a worthy investment and you're not just blowing money, right? Like, I love this thing because of that. If I would have bought this immediately right there when he showed me it, you know, it wouldn't have been as specialist to me when I finally, you know, did purchase it, right? Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying here. Tip number 6. Buy stuff that is going to last you. Now, this is a general tip in anything that you're going to buy that has a premium in life. When you take the time and save up and buy something that is better quality than the cheaper quality, you are going to save money in the long run. And you might not feel those initial benefits, but I'm over the accrual of years, of buying gear. In the long run, you're going to save money if you don't just impulse buy cheap crap, okay? Now, there's many things in my life, a lot of my hobbies, whether it be my Pentec Spotmatic or my Stanley number 4 or my record player, all these items I've had for more than a decade. I bought all of them for reasonable prices, not a lot at all. And I've taken really good care of them, and they're going to last me decades more, right? Because I'm made the worthy investment, I didn't get something cheap, and I take care of it, right? So you should be looking at all of your gear as investments. Don't mistreat it. Always do the proper maintenance, even in something as simple as microphone cables. The way you're wrapping them and treating them and not throwing them on the ground, it's going to make them last a lot more, right? Even something as simple as that, right? So that's going to carry through with everything you're doing in the studio and in life and whatever, okay? So just, as I'm saying, treat this as you would with any investment, a car, a house, whatever. Take good care of it. It's going to benefit you in the long run, and you're going to save money in the long run. Tip number 7. Life is going to have its ups and downs. You're not always going to have the luxury of being able to have disposable income in life. And you need to be comfortable with going through periods of your life where you're just not going to be able to buy gear that you want. And you're going to have to wait a little longer than you wanted to. This could be because of the economy or a different job you got or something that happens in your personal life. There's so many factors in life. And currently, at my stage in life, I haven't bought a piece of gear in probably around 2 years, at least a significant piece of gear in 2 years. And that's just because, recently I bought this house that I'm recording in, or, recording this video in, and I have to pay a mortgage. And honestly, I don't really have disposable income. Now, I'm not sitting here whining about it. I'm just saying, that's my financial situation, right? And I have to be comfortable with that, and I just have to be okay with that this stage of my life, the job I have, the money I'm making, and etc., I just can't buy the gear that I would love to have. Now, a second thing about that is, it's not just the money that I don't have, I don't really need more gear. Yes, I've been eyeing a U47 DIY kit clone, which is like $800, and I've been eyeing a DIY Hairball 1176 compressor clone kit for these 2 years, probably more than that. And between $800 and $500 for the latter, I can't justify spending that much right now in my life with the disposable income I have, because yes, I would love it. It would bring me joy, but I don't need it. I have gear here. I can make it work with what I have, right? And you need to be comfortable with that. You can't just, as I was saying before, you can't just start buying gear and buying gear and buying gear. You never want to be that guy that has all this fancy gear, doesn't know how to use it. I know a lot of people like that in life. Not music, well, some music related, but, other aspects in life and other hobbies, and it's just kind of embarrassing. You don't want to be that guy, right? You want to be, you ever see, someone, these blues guys are a great example. They just have a crappy guitar, and they make you cry, right? R.L. Burnside, a cheap transistor amp and a cheap guitar, and he's able to make you cry. You know what I'm saying? That's the gear has such a little part of it, especially when it comes to music. Music is all coming from the soul and your attitude. And I know I'm on a soapbox right now, or on the floor rather, but am I making sense here? I don't know. Hit that like and subscribe. Sorry. I broke character for a second. Let's just move on. How about that Dutch angle? All right, tip number 8, and this is going to be the final tip. And you're not going to like it. Tip number 8, get a job, you loser. Seriously, if you're commenting on people's YouTube videos and you're over the age of 18 and you're like, you rich kid, get a life. I mean, seriously, get a job, save up the money, and get gear. I don't know what to say. Before I did this video, I did a rough estimate of how much money I spent on all this gear, and I divided it by the number of years I've been accruing said gear, and split it up into how much I would have to save per month in order to make that happen. And I was super conservative with the amount I paid. I definitely didn't pay as much as I did in that calculation, and I was only at about $138 a month I would have to save to get all this gear. Now, $138 for someone in their mid to late 20s for me, that's not a lot of money, okay? I could afford $138 a month. It's really not that much money, okay? So, it's all about accrual over time. get a job. I don't know what to say. I've been working since I was even legally allowed to work to make money. I've always had that work ethic. If you don't have that work ethic and you expect things to just come easily to you, listen, I don't know what to say to you. Nothing is going to come easy in life. You gotta work towards it, okay? All right. With any luck, you gained something from this video. Maybe it gave you some ideas. Maybe it gave you some idea how to look on eBay better. Maybe it'll inspire you to go on Craigslist, look for something locally, look for that lesser known gear, whatever the case may be. I really want to end this video on a short anecdote that's a little bit of me just talking about my life and my work ethic when it comes to this type of stuff. And growing up, whenever I asked for something from my mom, she would always make me save up and pay for it. And the perfect example is my first drum set. Now, I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, so I don't know, was that 11 years old, 10 years old, something along those lines. And, we used to get magazines in the mail around Christmas time where it was like kids could go through and tell their parents what they want. And I remember seeing a starter drum kit. And, it was one of those, really cheap child ones. It doesn't have, it just had, that cheap cymbal mounted on the bass drum. There wasn't even a snare drum. It was just 2 toms, right? Completely cheap drum kit. I remember it being exactly $100. And I was like, Mom, I want a drum set. I want to be a drummer. And she told me, if you want the drum set, probably because she didn't want to hear it, she was like, if you want the drum set, you need to save up for yourself. And it took me probably close to a year to, do chores around the house. Maybe I used to shovel snow a lot during the winter there, rake leaves for my neighbors. Whatever the case, I saved up money. And I remember I saved up all my change in a pickle jar. I actually had the same pickle jar upstairs. And I remember saving up this whole pickle jar worth of change. And I remember counting it the night before. I had exactly $107 or something. And I remember going to the bank, putting it in the coin machine before they had that all lawsuit and they don't have the coin machine anymore. I remember counting it all, getting the money, and I remember being able to pay for that drum set. Now, at the time, I was so mad at my mom. I was like, well, all my friends get all the toys they want. Why can't you just buy me this drum set, right? And it wasn't until recently, in my, older age here, when I start reflecting, and I actually had this conversation with her, that I really appreciate my mom making me go through those extra steps and really put in the hard work to get something that I wanted. And, I know I'm not trying to brag or tell you guys how great I am. It's just, I think that's a really good work ethic to have. And with recording gear and even recording and the approach you take in the recording studio, this is all going to come through in your final results, right? Always put in the hard work, whether that be practicing a part or whatever the case may be, okay? Maybe spending that extra 10% on your mix is going to get you that mix where you want it to be. It's always putting that extra work in life. There's nothing easy that comes in life. And I really hope that you gained something from this video. I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling on. This all started because some freaking guy called me a rich kid or something. I'm not rich. Everyone who knows me in real life knows that I live very within my means. I'm a frugal guy, so I don't know. I never know how to end these videos. Banana smoothie!
What'd he say?